But as I said, yes, big changes rolling out today for vapers. Starting today, distribution, manufacture, sale and supply of disposable vapes is no longer banned. Nada. Gone. Pods with rechargeable cartridges are still okay, but it's the disposable single-use ones that are history. On top of that, vape products must now be hidden from view in stores. No more flashy displays in supermarkets or gas stations. Specialist vape shops have to go undercover as well. No visible products from the street, no online ads, no giveaways, no promos. Breaking these rules, new rules, could land retailers with some pretty hefty fines. Now, there will be 18 full-time officers dedicated to enforcing these laws, up from just 2 last year. But one would say, is even 18 enough? When you consider we've got over 7,000 physical vape retailers in the country. And we've got 18 people, 18 officers dedicated to doing mystery shopper-style checks. Now, the ban is aimed at curbing youth vaping and cutting e-waste from single-use gadgets. And while health experts are cautiously optimistic, there are concerns. Some worry that smokers just simply might switch back to cigarettes, although, yeah, so expensive. I'm not sure that's going to happen, but who knows. Many manufacturers may also look for loopholes that they can exploit. Disposable vapes are typically inexpensive, may cost less than $10 a device. So could the vaping industry respond by introducing new lower-priced reusable vapes? Or that an unregulated black market could pop up. So a few things in there. Charyl Robinson is the co-founder of Vape Free Kids New Zealand, and she joins me now. Charyl, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Leah.
Hey, it's good to talk again, Charyl. How are you feeling about these new vape rules coming into play?
We welcome them. We think they're good rules. Obviously, we feel they could go further, but we feel they're good. We're just really hopeful that the retailers comply. We've seen, they've got a history of not complying. Some retailers have a history of not complying. So, and that's because, as you touched on in your intro there, they just know that they overwhelmingly outnumber the enforcement officers, even with the increase to 18. I think Minister Costello said this morning that it's 18 full-time equivalent dedicated smoke-free enforcement officers, which is a huge improvement on what we had. But yes. But as you said, there's around 8,000. Well, there's 7,000 notified vaping products for sale in New Zealand at 8,000 locations. So, how on earth 18 people are meant to monitor that? I don't know.
Well, this is right. Yes, it's a step up, obviously, from last year where there were 2. But I still just don't think, how are 18 people going to get around the country? But look, let's not knock it before it all goes into play.
That's right. We need to wait and see what happens.
Yeah. And you've been campaigning a long time, Charyl. So you've said you'd like things to go further. What would you like to see? What have they missed?
The same drum that we've been banging right from the start, and we would like to see less stores. There is no need for so many stores, especially when you consider that there are zero places for youth to get help with giving up vaping. There's just no need for so many stores. That is what we've been banging on about right since our inception. It's what was promised by both major parties pre-election, and sadly, it was in the National Party's Better Health Outcomes manifesto that they would reduce the number of vape stores to 600, and then they backflipped on that when they got into bed with New Zealand First. It was a deal breaker for them that they were given those portfolios to look after, and what we've seen is a massive backflip on that promise. So that was very disappointing to us. That is the main thing that we think would help, and we'd also like to see, because we're neutral when it comes to adults vaping and making a decision with their fully formed prefrontal cortex that they want to start a nicotine addiction or use these products to give up their existing one, fine, go for it. but it's our young people that's our main concern, and we need to see some support. There is no funded support for youth to give up vaping, and we've got families out there really struggling at trying to do it alone. So those are the two main things.
How would that look, Charyl? You're saying no funded support for children or young people. What would that look like if you had the money?
Well, it would look pretty similar to the quit smoking programs that are available right across the country with Ministry of Health funding, but it would be targeted. It needs a really targeted approach for youth and input from people qualified in targeting this type of support to young people, and it just doesn't exist. So we need some, we're starting to see acknowledgement creeping in that perhaps vaping isn't quite as harmless as it has previously been described. And so I think alongside that acknowledgement, there needs to come some action in assisting people, particularly young people, in giving it up now that we've got so many who are hopelessly addicted.
I get that. So would it look like going into, like for schools, it's like a program you'd like to see funded, which we don't do at the moment. So kids at school get
There are people out there. There are people doing good work out there, but it doesn't come with any funding assistance. So we've got one incredible lady that I've met as part of my work with Vape Free Kids. Was scratching around, putting together packs and doing it at her own cost, and assisting in schools. And she's so in demand. It's heartbreaking, and she's dealing with younger and younger and younger children that are struggling with nicotine addiction. The Asthma and Respiratory Foundation have a program that they run in schools, but again, that's all funded through their own. There's just no acknowledgement from the Ministry of Health that this problem has been created and therefore needs to be solved. There's nothing being done other than imposing these penalties, which are only as good as the ability to enforce them, which I think we can all agree is a little bit ropey.
Yeah, at best. Going back to the changes to the law, Charyl, no advertising from today. Visibility like, cigarettes. It'll be like cigarettes. Vape retailers can't even email people advertising what they have. So happy with that?
Very happy with that. Absolutely just ecstatic with that, because that's a problem that we know. That's one of the ways that they get our kids is these shops that look like candy stores with these brightly coloured, exciting looking devices and packages winking out the windows at them, and they can't avoid them. They proliferate everywhere. We've got so many stores that are, on the walk to school for kids, and to know that they can no longer have these really enticing looking products looking at them as they go past, that is going to help. It is. We are fairly critical of a lot of what comes out of Minister Costello's office, but we really like this.
That's good. There are concerns from some, and I don't know, you might be too, Charyl, thinking that retailers, or the vaping industry, will, look at a loophole, the manufacturers, to exploit it by bringing out cheaper, because disposables are cheap in relation to vaping. So maybe they'll look at lowering new priced reusable vapes. I suppose, again, we have to wait and see what happens there.
Yeah, well, we do predict that is exactly what will happen. We can already see that there are pod vapes available, which are they're not considered disposable vape, and you can get them for about $10 now. So there's still plenty of very cheap vaping products on the market, even with the disposable ban. And the vaping industry as a whole have demonstrated that they don't like following the law, and they will find ways around it, and things like lowering price point to keep those products at pocket money prices. So that is exactly, you're right, that's what we predict will happen. So in terms of the disposable vape ban, they were ready for that well before the rules came in, even well before the extension that Minister Costello got them, they were ready.
Yeah. How much of a role do you think the black market might play now that this disposable is banned?